it's Miss Trees, and this short video is going to be about ions. For this video, you definitely are going to need a periodic table. So if you have not printed one out yet, I'm going to include a link of it in this note section. Make sure you guys print one out if you can. This is something we'll use all year long, so it'd be really beneficial to you if you had a periodic table to use. So we're going to talk about ions, so let's kind of jump on in. So if I was just going to give a basic definition of an ion, I would say it is a charged particle. Okay? So far what you guys talked about last class was atomic structure, and you probably briefly mentioned atoms, or neutral atoms. So in a neutral atom, they have the same number of protons and electrons. And since protons are positive and electrons are negative, since they have the same number, that means their charge is balanced out. It's equal, it's zero. So they're a neutral atom because they have the same number of protons or electrons. Now then, those neutral atoms can become ions by either gaining or losing electrons. All right, so when they don't change number of protons always stays the same. It's only electrons. So by gaining or losing electrons, and that causes our atom to become electrically charged. And we have two different types of ions that we can form. The first type is a positive ion. And positive ions happen when a neutral atom loses one or more electrons. So guys, remember electrons are negative. So when we lose those electrons, we have more protons. So we have more protons than electrons, which causes it to have that positive charge. So these are known as cations, and they're typically found to the left of the zigzag line. So on my periodic table, I'm going to hold it up for you guys really quickly. You guys see this dark line right here? That separates our metals and our nonmetals. And so to the left of that zigzag line over here, these are typically going to form our positive ions. Now, guys, these are called cations. All right, and I do have a little kind of fun way to help you remember it. So, guys, so it's called a cation, and I need help from my assistant with this one. Okay, so let me grab my assistant really quickly. Okay, come here. All right, everyone. So cation sounds a lot like cat. All right, and cats have paws. So she's biting me. So cations are positive. Isn't that right, Lucy? Okay, thank you. That was very helpful. Okay, so cation. Cats have paws. So cations are positive. That was really just an excuse to show off my cat because she's so cute. So our protons are greater than our electrons because we have lost those electrons and formed that positive ion. Okay, and then we also can form negative ions. So this is again where they gain one or more electrons. So that then means, because we've gained electrons, that we have less protons than we have electrons. There are more electrons, which causes it to have that negative charge. All right, they are also known as anions, and they're found to the right of the zigzag line. So once again, on my periodic table, that's going to be over here, and these are typically going to be negative ions. Now, I don't have a cute assistant to show you guys this one, all right? But I do have a fun 2 ways to hopefully help you remember anions. So the first one is a negative ion. So a negative ion, anion. Okay, the other way I remember it is the anion looks a lot like onion. And onions, they make you cry. So they are negative. I don't know. That's how I remember it personally. Okay. So let's do some practice here where we're actually going to determine basically our number of protons, our number of electrons, and our charge. So I just want to quickly tell you guys how I calculate charge. So for pretty much all of these things, I use a little formula to help me remember. So for my charge, for example, I know that my charge is going to be equal to my protons, my number of protons minus my number of electrons. And that'll give you your charge, whether it's positive or negative. So hopefully that's helpful. Sometimes I also just look at like, who do I have more of? Like how many protons do I have versus how many electrons? But if you're a little confused, you can always just plug in protons minus electrons and that'll give you your charge. Okay, so we're going to start with our first one. So our element is silicon. All right, so find silicon on your periodic table. The symbol is Si. So first thing we want to do is we want to find it on our periodic table. It is right there, number 14. All right, so since its atomic number is 14, that means it has 4 protons. Okay, I can already see that I have 18 electrons and 14 protons. So I can tell it's going to be negative because we have more electrons. But if I plug it into my equation, 14 minus 18, that gives me a charge of -4. So that tells me that silicon is an anion. All right. Next, I have 34 protons, 36 electrons. So once again, if I plug it into my formula, 34 minus 36, that gives me a charge of -2. So again, we have an anion. All right, and this one is we have to figure out our element. So we always use our number of protons to determine what element we have. So it's number 34. So we're going to go to our periodic table and find number 34. There it is. It's Se, and Se is selenium. Okay. So now this one's a little different because this time we have our charge and we have our element, but we don't have our protons or our electrons. Okay, guys, so my element is oxygen. So find oxygen on your periodic table. Its symbol is O. It's right there, number 8, so atomic number 8. So since our atomic number is 8, that means we have 8 protons. And it says our charge is -2. So since we have that -2, I mean, you can use the equation if you want to, but I always just think about it this way. Since it's -2, that means that we have 2 more electrons than we have protons, because again, negative means more electrons. So since I have 2 more electrons than protons, I have 8 protons. That means I would have 10 electrons. And again, this one is an anion. I promise they're not all anions, guys. Okay, for our next one, we have our element and we have our number of electrons. We need to figure out everything else. All right, so this time it is potassium, which potassium is actually K. And there it is on our periodic table. It is number 19. So that means it has 19 protons since its atomic number is 19. All right, protons is protons minus electrons, they're the same, so that means its charge is 0. So since the protons and electrons are the same, this is a neutral atom. Okay, I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to leave you guys with the last 2 to do as practice, or have you guys do the last 2 as practice. Okay, this one we have 13 protons and a +3 sorry guys, a +3 charge. I don't know what happened there. So since it's positive, we know it is a cation because cations are positive. Because you're forever going to think about Lucy when you say that, I hope. All right, so number 13 has 13 protons, so we're going to go find atomic number 13 on our periodic table. That is aluminum. So aluminum is our element. 13 protons, +3 charge. So that means we have 3 more protons than electrons. So that means we would have, since I have 13 protons, if I have 3 less, that means I would have 10 electrons. Okay? You guys do these last two. So take a minute, pause the video, solve these last two problems, and when you're done, restart to go over the answers. So pause it now. Guys, let's quickly go over those last two answers. So here we have iodine. It has 53 protons, and it is an anion since we have that lovely -1 charge there. And then our last one was calcium. So calcium has 20 protons. Since it has a +2 charge, it has 18 electrons, and it is a cation. Okay, guys, that's it for the ions video. You guys still have a few more videos to watch today, but hopefully that made sense and you guys feel prepared and ready to go on ions. Feel free to reach out and email Mr. Oglesby or myself if you have any questions. Bye, guys.